Hey, and welcome to another episode of Unstrung Heroes. I'm Sheri Menelli with Ron Menelli and Scott Appleton. And Scott Appleton has been the guitar tech for just about everybody. I mean, Rush, Journey, Def Leppard. I forget half the ones that I think you have like a list of like 20 that you gave me.
I
And
can't hold a
so,
job, yeah.
yeah, no problem. And so tonight we're going to mostly focus on Rush, and we're going to focus on some really cool Unstrung Hero stories. Definitely got a really good MacGyver story and some other Spinal Tap moments, I think you said.
Sure, we'll figure a few of those out.
And then maybe we'll give away some of the secrets that people are wondering that, things that nobody else knows that I'm sure people would want to hear. And you can only hear it here. I've got Scott Appleton.
How you guys doing?
Doing great. Okay, so I think the best thing to start out with was the best Unstrung Hero story I have ever heard in my life. Wow. And we call it the MacGyver story because it was just so hilarious that every time you tell it to us, I forget half of it. I'm sure Ron remembers more of it. But I think it's just like kind of typical of what you have to go through as a guitar tech. So I know it wasn't with Rush, but do you want to tell that story?
No, that was with Rush. That actually was with Rush. So, which one? The one that you hold in your hand there, or the other one?
Yeah, okay. It was a line mixer where you had to add some kind of iPhone and all these other accessories. Am I right, Ron?
Yeah. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, we were in the UK in, I believe it was 2011 with Rush. And the motion control computer, which operates all the overhead lighting trusses, does all the movements and all that stuff with it, that holds thousands of pounds of gear that goes up and down and all that stuff throughout the show, was not functioning. It wasn't able to do anything with the converted 50 cycle power in the UK. So obviously in the UK, you've got 240 volt 50 cycle power versus 110, 120 volt 60 cycle power here in the States. So our front of house guy came over and he said, do you have a mixer, a small mixer? And I said, yeah, I've got one of the RJM mini line mixers here. He says, all right, cool. He says, do you have a 1/8 inch to RCA cables? And I'm like, matter of fact, I do. Yeah, not a problem. So I'm like, what is all this about? He said, come on over. So we went over to the motion control guy's area, and he looks at one of the, he informs me that the computer's not working because of the power issues and stuff. And he gets one of the audio guys. He says, okay, get me one of the Crown Macrotech power amps and bring it over here real quick. And he looks at the motion control guy. He says, you have an iPhone, right? He says, yeah. He says, download a test tone program for me. Said, okay. So he goes on his phone and he downloads a test tone program. And he says, okay, now he says, I need you to turn off your phone capabilities. So just put it in airplane mode and then set the test tone to 60 hertz. He says, in the meantime, I'll be right back. And so we go over and he looks at the audio guys. He says, guys, we need to make a banana plug to Edison cable, female. And we all looked at each other like, what? He says, banana to Edison, female. So we went and found an electrical cord, a US electrical cord, and cut the end off and wired it to banana, positive, negative, and we plugged it back into the back of the power amp. So we went from the phone to the mini line mixer into the power amplifier. And then before we actually plugged anything else in, he got a meter out. And so we metered on the end of the Edison cable. And he says, okay, now turn the amp up until I say stop. So we turned it up until we got 120 volts coming out of the back of the amp. And we ran the motion control computer off of that power amp, iPhone, and mini line mixer combination for the entire European tour. So
I love that. That's just genius.
Yes, it was absolute genius. I was like, holy crap. I was looking at my front of house. I was kind of going, you win, man. So, but anyway, so the mini line mixer was an integral part in making sure that the thousands of pounds of gear did not crush the band during the show. So
that's
just very, very, very
rather important. Yeah.
Well, So I'm not the technical one. So what do you mean it didn't crush the band?
Well, because that's actually the computer that controls all the lighting trusses going up and down in the air. So, I mean, that is a very crucial part of things. So, without that, those trusses don't move, first off. And, and with it, they can't get them up and off the ground or anything like that either. So, there you go.
Wow, that makes me feel really good about our products. Like just one little micro line mixer could
save the day, save the entire show. Yeah,
that is truly a MacGyver moment right there.
That was
you would have thought,
no doubt.
For some reason, it didn't involve like chewing gum or something. But
we're working on the baling wire and chewing gum for the next time. So
nice.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's wild. Something else that Scotty that we were talking about before the show. Ron and I did a custom thing for Alex, and I found it. We were talking about it. You didn't know I had a third one, just in case the other two, something happened and we needed it.
Yeah.
And so do you want to describe what this is?
Yeah, it's a D-sub connector to MIDI output, to quarter-inch output. When we were first working on Alex's rig back in 2010, we were doing some changes with it. And then Alex was using the Hughes & Kettner Triamps as his main amp at that point. So which uses a proprietary foot switch, which runs off a 9-pin D-sub connector that comes off it and goes to the amplifiers. And we had a little custom thing that split that off. But he wanted that controller to also be able to control a Bogner amplifier as well. So we needed to make a box that, actually I had Ron make a box that converted that D-sub 9-pin over to a quarter-inch output stereo, so we could actually change the channels on the Bogner as well. So yeah, that's it right there. So Ron and I spent a few days on the phone back and forth after he sent me the first ones, and we were tweaking switches. And I remember Ron looking at me and says, "You all right with running a meter?" I'm like, "I'm not scared if you're not scared." And
it was not just a simple little foot switch or anything either. It was like all like some weird thing running on like 21 volts and like I don't even remember, but it was quite a while ago. It was a challenge.
It was very proprietary, as they say. So yeah.
Well, and I wanted to point out something else. I mean, the whole reason Ron got into guitar in the first place was, didn't you have a poster of Alex in your room with a white guitar?
It was like my band growing up, man. Those were the guys.
And that was so that's what's so funny about all this. I mean, the full circle moment of, he starts playing guitar, he, geeks out, starts making pedals when he's young, becomes an engineer, decides to make some gear, had no idea that we'd get into like all these big touring bands. It was just kind of like him just making something he wanted for himself. That's
sort of how a hobby gone out of control.
Yeah. And then like 2010, like going backstage. I know we have 2012. If you look on YouTube, there's a rig rundown with you.
We did, yeah. I remember that very well. Yeah, very
well.
I
think I remember Ron and his best friend, Jim. He was our best man at our wedding.
Yeah.
Jim and Ron came for Ron's 40th birthday, I think. And I remember I don't think he has a picture anymore, but he was holding Alex's white guitar. And I just think that's so hilarious, because that's just such a full circle moment of Rush using the gear.
Yeah,
well, it's cool. It's full circle for all of us. It's like I was a big Rush fan growing up too. So and then to actually work with those guys and become friends with them was really cool.
Yeah. Any little story as far as something secret that people might not know that might be fun to tell?
Oh gosh.
Any code names? I don't know.
Well, I mean, most everybody knows like the Lurch, Dirk, and Pratt names. That was their nicknames for each other on the road. So I mean, most everybody knows that. There was I can't remember what it was. There was some sort of screw up with a spell check at one point, I think, where they became Leak Deke and somebody else. But shoot, let me see what else we got. I mean, I don't know. There were so many cool little things happening. It was very much applauded by the band if you could come up with something funny in the show, like during YYZ or something like that, and it was very much fully sanctioned if you could come up with something funny during the show. But the thing is, it had to be funny. So, you know, the whole thing with, you know, the rooster and the orangutans, you know, people in the costumes and the gnomes and all that stuff was all basically the crew guys just trying to come up with something humorous, you know, which was really, really cool. I didn't get much of a chance to partake in it because I was, you know, having to pay attention to Alex on guitars and stuff like that. But a lot of our audio guys and set cards and stuff like that really had a lot of fun with that. So that was always cool. I remember the one time we were all sitting backstage and we got a bubble machine. I think it was in the ACC in Toronto or something like that. And, you know, so we were messing around with the bubble machine in the office and, you know, just giggling like schoolgirls, you know, ready to put it on stage for the show for that, you know, and of course, Ged nearly peed his pants laughing. It was really funny. So, and then one time we got, one of our audio guys found one of those flailing arm guys like you see at the car dealerships, but it had a big Canadian, it was red and white with a Canadian flag motif type thing. So we got a hold of that, and our Live Nation rep was like, yeah, we're doing that. Not a problem, you know? So we got that out there. And of course we set that up behind Ged's rig, and, you know, during YYZ, it's out there just flailing away. And those guys nearly stopped playing. They were laughing so hard. So, but you can probably find that one on YouTube somewhere, I'm sure. But, oh gosh, what else? I mean, there was so many. It's hard to pinpoint any of them, you know.
Well, let's do this. Let's go where if I'm lucky here. Now I'm being a guitar tech, and we'll see how well this works. But I'm going to share my screen because you had sent me some photos, and let's look through some of them and talk about what we have there.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, you guys will have to tell me if this works.
Okay.
Let's see.
I just see me so far, but
okay. Share.
Get there.
There it is. Okay. I hope.
Hey.
All right. Okay. So let's make this big. All right. So what do we have in this first one?
That is Alex's last rig from the last couple of tours we did. So we actually removed the Houston Kettner core blades out of the rig on the last few years. We just weren't using them. So, but the Lurks heads were the prototype heads for what they sell now from Mojo Tone. Great heads. When we were in rehearsals in Toronto for the which tour was it? It wasn't Time Machine. It was the one after that. It was Time Machine, I guess. Yeah. And Alex had used a Marshall 2553 Silver Jubilee 50-watt head in the studio, and he really liked it. So we borrowed the one from the rental house that he used for the studio, and we were using it in the rig, and they were going to let us take it out on the road, which was great, but we wanted a backup. So unfortunately, someone let the word out that Alex Lifeson was looking for a backup, and suddenly all the prices went sky high. So we started exploring other options, and Scully, who was Getty's bass tech, was friends with the guys from Mojo Tone in the Carolinas. And we thought, you know what, they've got a bunch of amp kits. Maybe we could just modify one of their amp kits to the specs on one of these. So he called down there, talked to one of the guys there, and one of the guys actually had one of the Silver Jubilee 50-watt amps himself. So, but Alex wanted just a little bit more gain to it. So he was like, yeah, no problem, we can do it. And literally the one you see in the main rack in the middle right there is the first one that we ever got. We got it 7 days later. It showed up on our doorstep in Toronto. So, I mean, just the way it looks. So, I mean, right down to the silver, you know, Tolex and the Lurks logo on it and all that stuff. So, I mean, they did an amazing job very quickly. So, and Alex plugged that one in, and he's never stopped using it after that. So he loved it. So, of course, we got a second one after that, too. We had the Mesa Boogie Mark V's below it, which were brilliant clean amps for Alex. Alex never really had like a real super clean sound. There was always a little bit of gain to it. Like I said, this was an earlier version of this one when the core blades were in the bottom. We did remove those the last 2 years that we were on the road. Another little funny story. If you have the picture of the boxes.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Let me find that.
So yeah, right there. So this is when we were doing the Time Machine tour, we had all these huge steampunk set pieces and all that stuff, right? So we're in rehearsals in Toronto, and the set pieces aren't ready yet. So we had nothing behind the guys in the rehearsal place. So one of our audio guys got bored one day and took a couple of boxes that we had, twin boxes, and made the box AC turdies for the back.
Nice.
So he drew on the boxes, and we actually mic'd them up in the whole 9 yards before Alex got in. And of course, everybody fell out. They thought it was hilarious, so it was great. But funny story, when we were doing that was like 2011 or 12, I think. Like 3 years later, we're in Los Angeles, like completely across the country from Toronto, a different country from Toronto. And we're working at a rehearsal facility in Los Angeles. And we see one of the head boxes on a set card going out of the rehearsal facility we're at. We're like, we threw those away like years ago in Toronto. We're like, wait. We stopped the young lady who was moving it, and it turns out it was on a set card from 30 Seconds to Mars. And we're like, well, where did you find this? And she was just moving lockers, and she didn't care. She had, she was looking at us like we had four heads. And so we're like, can we have this back? We told her the story. She was like, yeah, okay, weirdos. Yeah, no problem. So we actually got the little box head back. So the last 2 years we were out, I actually had the little box in the bottom of the rack. As it was the Volvo of guitar amps. It was boxy, but it was good. So.
Nice. That's cool.
So.
Let's see.
Yeah. If you want to go back to that other first picture.
Yeah, and there's this one too.
Yeah, that one too. Same rig basically. So we had during the Clockwork Angels records, Alex had used Guitar Rig 4 for a lot of like very esoteric type sounds. So you'll notice in there's a laptop out. There's another spare one below it that's pushed in right now. You can't see it, but we actually used Apple's main stage program with Guitar Rig 4 as kind of like an extra amplifier as part of the rig. So we could get all those little extra esoteric sounds. We could also get like some really cool, just like high watt type sounds that he used in the, back in the day and things like that too, which was really cool. So you'll notice above that, the little green screen was Fractal Audio Axe Effects 2, which we used for all the effects for the Lurks and the Mesa Boogie Mark V. Below that was a couple of effects gizmos from RJM.
Nice.
There was also a Mesa Boogie amp switcher in there. What else do we have? You'll also notice on the right rack, the far right rack with the computer on top, that was all my wireless stuff. So that was wireless for acoustic and electric. There are 3 IS8s, RJM IS8 units in there for switching. The bottom one, which you're highlighting right now, was for acoustic, and then the top 2 was for electric, and I had a spare in there just in case as well, which we never used.
So I guess, Ron, do you want to explain the IS8, because that was a custom thing we did too?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's pretty wild. Yeah, it's I forgot that you guys had IS8s because we haven't made those in a long time. There's only a tiny handful of those out there in the world, but. Basically it was just a few bands wanted this, where we basically just wanted a selector for all the wireless units. And I can't remember, was yours able to turn on more than one input at a time, or was that
we could actually do all 8 inputs. Yeah, we could actually do all 8 inputs simultaneously. So I would use 4 to 6 of them sometimes because of different wireless scenarios I had going on at any given point. So, but yeah.
We had started making them for Green Day, the first one, and then I thought Rush, wasn't that the second one that wanted something, or maybe it was Rascal Flatts. Then the tech started talking.
yeah. Graf and myself and everybody else and Bucky started talking. I know Bucky ordered these 3s from you guys. I know we got some for Def Leppard as well too.
Yeah.
We swapped those out later for the IS88s.
84s. Yeah.
84, excuse me. Yeah, 44, 84s. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, because we basically were kind of doing like sort of semi-custom for each band, and that kind of got troublesome real quick. And then I kind of, but then I kind of got the whole. Once I kind of got the feel for the extent of what everyone needed, then that was like the IS84 just kind of expanded out to cover what everyone needed, and you can just configure it whichever way you wanted.
Yeah, it was wonderful. We used those for a long time with Def Leppard. I know that.
So I see, I think 2 amp gizmos. Is that right?
Yes, 2 effects gizmos in there. So
effects gizmos. Okay.
Yeah. So what I did is I would actually run the effects. Sorry, I had a full rack effects gizmo in there too at one point. So that one, what did I do? I don't remember what I did with that one. Do you have one of the other pictures there, Sheri, that we can share? That was the acoustic. Yeah, that was it right there. Yeah. So yeah, we had that one.
There are some amp gizmos there, I see.
Yes, yeah. Were those amps or were those effects? I thought those were effects. I don't.
Well, this is the effect gizmo right here, but here are the amp gizmos.
Actually, that down there on the bottom is actually an old compressor unit that we didn't use. Oh yeah, there's that one down there. Yeah, that one I actually used inside the Axe Effects unit. So, yeah, the Axe Effects unit. What I did is I actually ran a loop feature inside the Axe Effects through the effects gizmo, so I could actually add any effects. Like Alex's TC1210 chorus through there if you wanted or something like that. But I was also able to use loops separately to put I had a small boost in front of the Lurks amplifier, just as a little push over the cliff thing for solos, if you will. So it was super flexible. It was great. So, but and the nice part was I was able to add more effects in and out of the Axe Effects that if Alex wanted to add a pedal to it or something like that to make it super flexible, which was really nice. So yeah, the amp gizmos, I guess we're actually changing the amp switcher. That's what it was. So
right, okay,
yeah, because the amp switcher would just operated on quarter-inch inputs. So
yeah, I had no idea we had so much gear in Rush's thing. So
there was a lot in there. Yeah, there was a lot. So yep.
All right.
Good. Yeah.
So we have been getting lots of questions. Let me see if I can maybe I'll just do one or two, and then I really want to get into at least one Spinal Tap moment. I just have to. Let's see. What does Darren say? Journey was inducted into the 2017 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and Getty and Alex were inducted.
Yes, as well.
I'm assuming Scott was doing the guitar tech for Neil Sean at the event, and saw Alex there.
Actually, I left Journey in 2000. The last I worked with those guys was 2010. So I left full-time touring with those guys in 2007. And then I started working with Def Leppard after that. So I would work on and off with, doing studio projects and stuff like that until 2010. So I still keep in touch with him and stuff like that. He's a great guy. So, so no, I was not at that event. 2017, I was working with Def Leppard, Taylor Swift, and Nine Inch Nails that year. So it was a busy year.
So 2017 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, was that the one where they made up a really funny song that was just like one word or something? What was it? Do you guys remember?
Well, that was actually, you mean when Getty was when Alex was inducted? When the Rush guys were inducted? Yeah, Alex did a whole speech using the word blah.
That was it.
Yeah. So basically, he was the last inductee of the night. And it had been like a 6-hour long event. It was just crazy long. And everything had been said. Everybody just kind of got up there and said the same thing. It was funny because I'm out with the Foo Fighters right now. We just ran into the guys from Public Enemy a couple of days ago at a festival we were doing. And those guys were inducted on the same night as Rush as well. And Flavor Flav, bless his heart, nicest guy, sweet as pie, but just he did like literally a 35-minute long acceptance speech, and just you could see Jan Wenner out in the audience just going, and Chuck D's standing behind Flav going, and hats off to whoever edited that speech on the HBO special, because they deserve an Emmy for that one alone. So, but anyway, long story short, so they got down to the end of it, and Alex was literally the last person to say anything all night. And I remember it distinctly because I'm out there trying to put his pedal board up, and he's just like blah 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 blah, and he tells the whole story just using the word blah, and it's absolutely brilliant. He basically tells everything about their entire history, and basically telling the Jan Wenner and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame where to put things in. And all just using the one word and just very politically correct about it. And just, it was just, I'm out there trying to set up his rig for the thing afterwards. And I was laughing so hard, I completely mispatched the pedal board. And I'm like, I had to go flying back out there just before they went on stage just to redo my mistakes because I was laughing so hard. So, It was brilliant. I mean, it's online. You can find it. It's, just type in Alex Lifeson blah and you'll see it. So, but it's amazing. And he actually pulled out a speech out of his pocket that I think he was actually really going to read, and then he realized what had happened all night and just knowing Al, he's just a funny guy. He just busted an improv from there. So
that was just hysterical. Okay.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Well, speaking of hysterical, there's a hilarious YouTube video where Alex's guitar went out and Alex started to sing Still No Guitar over Polka La Via. How do you remember that and remember what failed to cause that moment?
Oh, yeah. I remember that moment very, very well. So, yeah, it was we had an equipment malfunction, and that just, kind of just led Al into his own hysterics. So, I was down there tearing my hair out trying to figure out what was going on, and it was not my favorite Rush show. So, well, we made it. We lived. You do what you do. Some nights are better than others. So,
let's see. Then the members of Def Leppard and Geddy and Alex were on the bill for Taylor Hawkins tribute concert. So I know that Foo quite well because you've been working a lot with Foo. So
yeah, it was. That was a pinch me sort of day. I mean, just the emotions of tributing, of the tribute to Taylor, as well as just looking down at my set sheet going, I am working with not only the Foo Fighters, but also Rush and Def Leppard, my favorite bands I've ever worked, some of my favorite bands I've ever worked with. And it was just one of those pinch me moments, where you just kind of go, wow, giving some really cool credit to a friend that had passed. And then not only that, but just, I remember sending emails out to people when I was trying to get things set up for it, just, with, saying, at the end of my signature saying Guitar Tech Dave Grohl, Foo Fighters, Guitar Tech Alex Lifeson, Rush, Guitar Tech, Vivian Campbell, Def Leppard, and just kind of going, Jesus, really? It was, like I said, it was a pinch me moment. So.
Yeah, I think Ron and I have had a lot of pinch me moments in the last several years.
It's like, yeah.
Somebody was asking, well, who's the big bands using your gear? And I started listing them. And I think like 100 later, I was still going. And I'm like, wow, I guess I didn't realize we sold to so many people.
Yeah, it's crazy when you start getting down to it. You start going, wow, because you're just doing what you do. It's just your gig, and you're just out there having fun and doing what you love to do. And every now and then you got to stop and smell the roses, I guess.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that think what Ron and I do is a lot more romantic than what it is.
Same here.
Slogging through trying to get product out and make sure everybody's gear works and help everybody. Ron, do you have any questions? Because I know you're the biggest Rush fan here too. So
put me on the spot now.
Well, I could. Otherwise, I have plenty of questions.
Well, let me work on that in there. And
all right.
One thing. Okay. Well, sorry. I just took that back. Yeah. No, I just for Scott, that's the question we ask everyone. Well, how did you get started? What was your foot in the door to doing all this?
I lost a bet. No, I had done it on and off throughout college, just a little bit, I worked with a Canadian band for a little while called Honeymoon Suite, just, back in the 80s, just kind of helped out on a little local basis type thing, which was cool. And then, I'm a player too. So, things would pop up. When I first moved to Nashville 30 years ago, it was like, I would, a tech gig would pop up here and there doing something for, like a Mercury Records, showcase or something like that. So I just got 2 guitars and hand them off, set up amps, no big deal, And then I was actually not going to work in the music business anymore. I had given up at one point. And a buddy of mine said to me, my drummer, Jimmy Hanley, love him to death. Jimmy said to me, he said, kind of begrudgingly, because he wasn't sure how I would react. He said, man, I'm going out with Peter Frampton this summer. Would you be interested in being the bass and the keyboard tech? And I'm like, yeah, why not? Sounds like fun. We get to hang out for the summer. Sure. Great. Sounds like a blast. And it just kind of took off from there. I did that tour with those guys that summer. I was taking care of Bob Regan and John Regan and Bob Mayo. Sorry, it's been a little while. Love those guys. They were great. And then we finished up that summer, and then Peter's Tech, my buddy Chainsaw, got me over to the B-52s. And I started working with the B-52s and had a blast with those guys. It was so much fun. And then the next summer, Chainsaw was doing Neil from Journey. And he also, one of his main clients is Springsteen. So he got called back to do Springsteen, so he couldn't do the Journey tour. So he called me and asked me if I'd be interested in that. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I took that gig, and I was there for 6-7 years, something like that. So then the Journey guys took a year off, and that was the year after we had toured with Def Leppard in 2006. And so I got a call from the Leppard guys saying Phil needed a tech. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. Phil's a great guy. He's one of my best friends, good dude, And so went out and started working with those guys. And then they took 2010 off. And my buddy Bucky called me and said, hey, I can't do the Rush tour. Would you be interested in doing that? I'm like, absolutely. So started working with Alex. And I actually was doing Def Leppard and Rush all the way up through 2015. I was doing both. So Phil was super gracious and allowed me to bring in a sub when I was out with the Rush guys when our schedules overlapped. So that was really, really cool of him. So, I mean, we did that. And then, little gigs in between here and there. And, and then, sorry, not to give you my whole resume here, but that's where it all kind of started.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then after that, what did we do? The guys retired in 15. So went back to the Leppard guys. I got a call to do Taylor Swift in 2017. So we ended kind of early in 2017 with Leppard. So I went out with 9 Inch Nails for about a month and a half, 2 months. And then we started rehearsals with Taylor in like November. And I went back and did one more Nails gig before Christmas. And then all of 18 was all Taylor Swift for the Reputation tour. So that was a super busy year. Great challenge. Really, really good challenge for everything. So, and then where were we at? 2018, I went back out, 2019, went back out with Def Leppard again. At the end of 2019, I took a job with Adam with Tool, which was fantastic. Adam was such a nice guy, really, really cool. Great rig, amazing tone, really unique style player too. Really liked working with him a lot. And then 2020, well, here's the weird part. I accepted a job with Adam in December of 19. And about a week after I took the gig, I got a call from my buddy Allie, who was Dave's tech back when we did the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. So with the Rush guys. So as you know, Dave and Taylor and Nick Ruskilin has sat in with those guys and did 2112. It was really cool. And Allie and I just kept in touch over the years. Just a great guy, really cool. And so Allie called me like a week after I took the Rush or the Tool gig, and I'm like going, man, he said, listen, he says, I've got a friend who's looking for a guitar tech, but I can't tell you who it is. And I'm like going, you can't tell me who it is? I'm like, okay. I said, dude, listen, I just took this Tool gig. It was one of those things. I said, thank you very much. And I said, dude, I really appreciate you calling me about it. Thank you. And hung up the phone, and I went, oh crap, I hope I just didn't turn down Dave Grohl. I was like, oh, well, too late. So anyway, we're doing we started touring actually with Tool in January of 2020, just before the pandemic. And we were just about to go to New Zealand in February, and Allie called me back again. He says, hey man, he says, listen, my friend is still looking for a tech, I said, would his initials be DG? He said, yes. I said, okay, let me think about it. I'm in. So I found, I let the guys from Tool know that after March, they were stopping for like 6 months after that. Anyway, I said, listen, I'm going to move over to the Foos. And obviously I finished up with Tool in like, March 14th as everything was shutting down for the pandemic, and then was supposed to start with the Foos on the 24th, and obviously that didn't happen until 21. But anyway, yeah, been with the Foo Fighters ever since. Actually did some work with the Def Leppard guys again last year too. So I mean, it's all kind of worked out. So it's cool. It's been a lot of fun. Been a good ride.
So I guess this is time to. Can you think of a really good Spinal Tap moment?
Oh gosh. You know what? The one I've got is not my story, but it's still a good one.
Okay, let's tell it then. Because
all right, it's not
I'm
my
all
story.
for a good Spinal Tap story.
It's my buddy Michael Berger. Michael was Gene Simmons' tech for a long time with Kiss, and we toured with those guys in 2012. And Michael had just recently got the gig, and it was like the first night. Actually, he walks out to hand Gene a bass, and he hands Gene a bass, and Gene hands him the bass. And sorry, I'm going to swear here, but Gene looks at him and says, "Well, fuck off." And Michael says, "I would, but you're standing on my foot." And of course, Gene goes, "Oh," and then walks away. So we had a lot of fun moments on that tour. Actually, Phil, the Kiss guys let him go up and down in Gene's suit and do the whole, God of Thunder thing, going up and down in the lighting truss and all that. It was really cool. It was a fun year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did anything ever go wrong with Rush?
Yeah, I mean, I had that one night where we had the rig go down completely, which was just panic. Fortunately, that never happened again. We got the rig kind of reconfigured the next year, and it was super solid, and everything was great. So I was very happy with that rig, and Alex was too. So when I first started working with Alex, we had a really interesting thing where he would take his in-ear, he would put his amplifiers panned hard right and hard left, and then he would put all of his effects in the middle. And it was very, I don't know, it's a very different approach for me. I wasn't used to it, but that's what he liked. I was very cool, so no problem. But when we got to the rig where we started putting, where I put the Axe effects in for effects and everything, he was frustrated one day, and I just looked at him and said, "Hey man, can we try something?" And he said, "Yeah, of course." So it was the three of us. It was me and him and our monitor guy. So Brent was our monitor guy. So Brent said, "Take the amps, put them down the middle, and then pan the effects out left and right real hard." And he's like, "Yep, no problem." So he went and did it, and Alex hit the first chord, and he was like, "Whoa, oh, okay," And then we kind of reconfigured the amps a little bit left and right in the center portion of it and everything. But he was like, "Oh, okay, I like this," because it was the first time he ever really heard his effects in true stereo like that, and he was like, "Oh man, this is great," He had a big smile on his face after that, so I was very happy about that. So, yeah, I don't know. What else you want to know?
Well, let's see. Got somebody here that says, "I can also attest Scott is a killer guitarist and all-around super sweet guy," and I can attest to that too. But
Mom, I'll send you the $50 later, okay?
Okay, sounds good. But I do know that you play with a few bands. You and Dave. I don't know who else you play with. Didn't you have a Toto tribute? And
we did, yeah.
So what are you doing on your off? Well, when you are off.
There hasn't been ever off lately. So yeah. Actually, believe it or not, I've been playing. A friend of mine actually has a Def Leppard tribute band, which I've been playing it, which has been kind of fun. I know the parts, so I mean I've heard them a few times, so that's
cool. Probably.
Yeah, and Dave Graff, who's working now with Tim McGraw. He's one of Tim McGraw's techs, a great buddy of mine. He and I played together in a Toto tribute band for a while. I mean, yeah, I love playing, so it's just it's part of me. So,
do you have a Instagram handle or like a place for people to follow you?
I really don't. My Instagram thing is mainly for my photography. So
photography, I didn't even know about that.
It's just kind of a new hobby for me lately. So it's been a lot of fun.
Okay. So speaking of photography, were you around when Ron? What's Rick's last name?
Gould.
Rick Gould, yeah, no, Rick
Gould. Rick Gould, we were friends with him, and he lives just here in Oceanside, not too far from us. Oh, okay. He was doing some photography for us for our products.
Yeah.
And then he ended up going out with Rush and we found out he was a concert photographer, and then he went out with Rush for a year, I think.
Yeah, he was out there for quite a while, actually. I think I think he was out there prior to me being there, but he was there on and off every now and then, so he'd come out and take pictures too. So
Yeah.
Rick's a great guy. I've worked with him on and off, with different bands over the years. So he always comes out. He's very respectful and just very cool about everything. So great concert photographer too.
Oh yeah. Let's see. So
well, I mean, there is one fun story that we could talk to you about. Yeah, Cooper. Thank you, Cooper. I'll slide you that 50 later too. Yeah.
It's gonna be an expensive live stream.
I tell you what, man, it's gonna be a bad week.
What kind of photography before you get into the story?
I mean, I just kind of do whatever I like. So I mean, I landscape, a little bit of street, mainly landscape type stuff. So
okay, so not concert photography.
I don't. I've tried it. Here being the main reason is that I know a lot of guitar techs who are amazing photographers, and they all do concert photography. So when I did it, I kind of wanted to do something else because those guys do it so well, and I'm just like, well, let me do something else. So I just wanted to try photography in a different aspect. So when I was working with Def Leppard, fortunately, my buddy Jeff Diffner and my buddy John Zacco, who are both amazing photographers, got me into it. We were doing a residency in Vegas in 19. So I picked up my first mirrorless camera, and we started going out. We went to Red Rock Canyon outside of Vegas, and then we did a big trip over to Death Valley and did some astrophotography, which I really love a lot too. So taking pictures of the Milky Way and stuff like that. So but yeah, it's just, they got me into it, and it's just kind of been, for me, it's been a great way to go back to cities I've been to a bunch of times and see it in a different light, and actually find something new that I haven't seen, and just, and just different perspectives. So kind of cool.
So I interrupted you. You were about to tell a story.
Oh yeah. Sorry. So funny thing is that, like, when I was working with Journey, my buddy Jimmy, who I worked with, on Frampton, also was working with Journey as well. And Jimmy's been my drummer on and off for years. So Jimmy Hanley. And we had a crew band with Journey. And just fun. We had about a half hour, 45 minutes worth of songs down. No big deal. And just having a good time. We could go up and do a line check. We could play separate ways, for our front of house guy. Just make sure you kind of had a beat on things before the band got there and things like that. So, but we were in... I think this was 2004, maybe 2005. Must have been 2004, I think. We were in Honolulu, and we were doing 2 shows at Blaisdell Arena, and there was no opening act. So the guys went on at 8:00 sharp the first night, and there was nobody in the building. They were all sitting outside thinking there was an opening act, and it was like, oh crap. So they hit our production manager and said, hey, listen, we need an opening act for tomorrow's stat. And our production manager, who was also our singer, said, well, hey, is it okay if the crew opens? We've got a half-hour set we could do. Like, yeah, great, cool. So the next night we, the lights went down, and the word must have got out that they were starting at 8 because the arena was fairly full, and it was like, all right, cool. And we had We Don't Get Fooled Again from The Who, and it's like that part where it goes bam, 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 bam. And the lights go off, and lights come back on, and we launched into No Matter What from Badfinger. And you just kind of see the whole audience go. And so what kind of became our theme after that was, after the first song, our singer got on there. He says, right about now, you're probably asking yourself, who the hell are these guys? So that was kind of our theme right there. So, but we wound up opening in like 14 more shows for Journey over the next couple of years, just at, fairs and festivals and stuff like that.
What was the name of your band? Did you actually come up with a name?
Yeah, our lead singer, or our production manager's name was Rocco Reedy. So we called it Rocco and the Devils. So, but, long story short, Rocco was also the stage manager of U2. And, our keyboard player was kind of an amateur videographer as well. I shouldn't say amateur, he was really good at it. But he was a videographer, and he put together a DVD of all of our show excerpts from over the year and stuff like that for us. And Rocco went back to U2, and Paul McGinnis, who was the manager of U2 at the time, caught wind that we'd been opening shows for Journey, and Rocco handed him the DVD and said, "Yeah, here, check it out. We had fun, no big deal." And Paul evidently showed it to the guys in the band. And about a week later, Rocco was putting the band on stage, and Bono came up to him and said, "Hey, Rocco, we saw your band. Would you guys open for us?" And Rocco totally thought he was kidding him. And he's like, yeah, sure, man. No problem. Get on stage. No problem. And Bono came down halfway through the show, and he's like, "No, really, we're serious. We want to know if you'll open up the last show of the Vertigo tours for us." And
Wow.
he's like, "We'll pay you and everything." He's like, "Okay." So anyway, long story short, we wound up opening the last show of the Vertigo tour in 2006 it was us, Pearl Jam, and U2 at Aloha Stadium in Honolulu. So,
wow.
According to Billboard magazine, it was the top grossing single concert of 2006.
Good job. You did it.
We had nothing.
And you were part of it.
And it was that.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Okay, so I'm gonna take a question here. There was a question. Let's see. Where is it though? Oh, here it is. Let's try this one. Another question for Scott. What's the secret to building great rack guitar rigs, in your opinion?
Grounding. Always, yeah.
Grounding.
Yeah. And the more star grounding, in my opinion, you can do, the better. So, it's just try to keep noise out of the system is the biggest one, So, I mean, sometimes it takes a little bit of experimentation, but, that's the big one for me. So, especially when you start getting more and more components, the more stuff you get going, the more issues you can have, and the more things you're going to have to lift as far as rack rail and, ground rack rail and stuff like that. So there's unfortunately with the RJM stuff, I mean, it's really nice to have those little ground lift switches on the back that you can mess with and stuff like that in case you need, and, stuff like that. So, I mean, but that's the biggest challenge, grounding.
Okay, here's another question.
Always.
I wonder what makes the Triamp unique and stand out from other amps. Back in the 80s and 90s, rack preamps such as the Soldano preamp, Mesa Triax, and Marshall JMP1 used to be the thing, right?
Absolutely. I owned a JMP1 for years. In fact, I still have one yet. So, yeah. That was the amp that Alex chose to do. It was a 3-channel amp. He chose to do the amp with Hughes and Kettner. I was not there for the development of that amp, so I really can't give you any idea how that went. But it was a 3-channel high gain amp. It was kind of like almost I don't want to compare it to a diesel VH4, but it was almost like a predecessor to that, I guess, if you will. Wherein it did have some MIDI switching and things like that on it. But it was just basically a 3-channel amp that was switchable via a proprietary foot switch or MIDI. And it could be pretty high gain if you really wanted it to. Alex had a very unique approach on that amp as well, whereas he used to crank the snot out of each independent channel and then just adjust the volume very, very low on it. So it was kind of an antithesis of normal gain structure, but it worked for him. So, but boy, I tell you what, if you breathed wrong on those things, all of a sudden it would put your hair straight back. It was loud. So, yeah.
Yeah, those actually, didn't they have, it wasn't like 3 channels, but the channels all had like 2 modes as well, because it's kind of sort of 6-ish channels.
Correct. Yeah, I think they went to a little bit of the Mesa Boogie school on that too. So,
yeah, that was definitely a record for amount of available channels. And
there was a lot.
Had to actually change the way the second amp gizmo worked, just so I could accommodate the extra 2, channels or pseudo channels.
Yeah, there was a lot going on that amp. I mean, there was a ton going on it. So it was versatile. It was very versatile. So
yeah, I played with them briefly, and it's pretty cool. It had there was like some sort of middle plexi-ish channel that I thought was really fun. It was really kind of dynamic, and
that was the one channel that kind of hit me too. I was like, yeah, okay, cool. There was one that was kind of metalish, which I didn't care for much. It was a bit brash to my taste, but that's my taste. So
yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Okay. I like the Toronto Globe and Mail article titled Six String Wizards Meet the Unsung Heroes. Oh, we have the Unstrung Heroes here. Of rock and roll, which features Scott Appleton, Elwood Francis of ZZ Top, and Jeff Ousley as well.
Yeah, now Elwood's playing bass for ZZ Top. So there you
Really?
go. Yeah, Elwood's now the bass player for ZZ. So I was really happy to see that, man. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Super.
We haven't talked to Elwood in ages. I can't remember the last time ZZ Top ordered from us. Yeah,
it's been a long time, but
yeah,
they did.
And Jeff Ousley's a great guy too. Jeff worked for Heart for a long time with us, and Jeff worked for Heart, and we toured with those guys a few times, and just a sweetheart of a guy as well, and a great tech. That was a good article, actually. I remember that one. I liked that one. In fact, I think the picture I gave you, I may have stolen from that article. So.
You know what? I wonder if I can find it and like maybe make a Instagram story or find it and like make a link maybe down below in the description.
I'm sure it probably is still around. Yeah, it's probably archived somewhere. So
that would be kind of cool. Let's see. What else? Let's see. Well, sorry. All right.
You gotta go back one. That's
yeah,
like a continuation.
Started. Let's see if this is one. Scott, with more bands going to cabless stages, what are your thoughts on that? And has that forced you to focus and experiment more on finding the right IEMs to satisfy that lack of air?
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of them. I mean, well, honestly, with Alex, we didn't use on-stage cabinets for the last couple of years, so we just used the Palmer PDI 03s for all the amplifier stuff. So, which do not use any IR responses at all. However, like with the Leppard guys and stuff like that, where they're using axe effects and things, we're actually, we're slogging through a ton of IRs just to find ones that we like, and then mixing and matching and stuff like that too. So it's definitely. It's not my favorite thing to do. It's a bit tedious just simply because of the multitude of them that you have to go through to find the right ones. But when you get the right ones, it's worth it. So, although even with the Leppard guys, they do actually have cabinets on stage, just for Sav, the bass player, because he doesn't use in-ear monitors. But everything you hear at front of house and in the in-ear monitors is all direct coming out of the axe effects. So yeah, we spent a great deal of time on cabinets and IRs for those.
And then I think this is the second part. Misha Mansour from Periphery did mention that without real cabs, the front row audience misses out on the guitars.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that simply because if your sound guy's on top of it, he's got a small set of speakers on top of the subs in front. Every band I've worked with in the last 15 years has always got the smaller set of full range speakers for the front rows on top of the subwoofers in front. So, I mean, sometimes, with cabinets on stage, that's all the front row hears. So they don't hear any of the vocals. They don't hear anything else. So it's kind of nice.
Yeah. Sounds like Cooper agrees with you there.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
And he says, increasingly, you'll see more and more even small venues go with a nice set of front fills.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He's absolutely right. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. There was, I know I had. So can you think of any more Unstrung Hero moments where didn't you have to do some? I thought you burnt your fingers having to get into a hot amp and do something. I thought you told me that story, or maybe that was Dave Graff that told me that.
I mean, I think we've all done that at some point, trying to swap out a bad tube or something like that, Yeah, I don't think there's any guitar tech who's been around for a while who hasn't burnt his hands on a hot tube just trying to switch it out in the middle of the show. So, I remember too, like when we were out with Rush, we had Alex's signature model Gibson's, which has the Graphtech Ghost system on it, which is a wonderful system. The piezo is amazing, on the Floydrose style bridge. We only ever ran into one issue of that, and of course, it was the day of the video shoot that we did for Time Machine, and where were we? We're in Cleveland or something like that, and I ran into a situation there because the electronics are both the electronic portion, like the regular pickups, the magnetic pickups, as well as the piezo pickups, are both run through a central preamp system inside the Ghost system, the Ghost preamp system there. So, and what was happening was it was coming out. I was getting some noise issues from a carrier wave from a cell tower in the building, So whenever it was on a high gain situation, you could just hear that. You have that steady wave, so it's going, and then you hear the bip, 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 bip. And of course, it's the day we're shooting a video, and I'm like, oh my god, So we're trying to get rid of it, and trying to get rid of it, and trying to get rid of it all day. And Scully came over, and we were both working on it together. And finally, we just wound up, since Alex's guitars both since those guitars actually have two outputs on them, I could separate the two. So we just wound up making the two systems completely autonomous, which worked flawlessly. It was great. But I'll tell you what, I think we finished that up about 5 minutes before the show and just breathed a huge sigh of relief. So
is that the way it always goes? It's always like 1 to 5 minutes right before the show starts that everything
yeah, it's a Murphy's Law thing, If it's going to go bad, it's going to go bad 5 minutes before the show. So,
Well, at least it seems like they usually get fixed. Like by
that's
some
why we're here.
miracle.
Yeah, that's why we're here. Working under pressure. That's why we're here. So.
But yeah, how many of these stories have we gotten already where it's like interference from something or another? It's like grounding is one thing, but what about and that's another. Ask Spinal Tap that as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Chad from Metallica last week was talking about, wasn't it the fan by the drummer that was like driving everybody nuts and nobody could figure out what it was?
Yeah. It was,
oh, really?
The fan noise was like coupling in through the power strip, and it's like how long does it take to find something like that? It's like they just apparently had to like yell, okay, who just plugged something in? Who just changed something? What just happened?
I love it when you're at like the county fair and then somebody plugs a refrigerator into your power source or something like that. You're like,
Oh,
that's happened before, yeah.
Maddie, Petrucci's tech, he was telling us in one of the episodes, he was telling us about the hearing impaired system. Yeah, have you had to deal with that?
We've had a bunch of it lately, yeah, actually.
Yeah, Maddie knows how to solve that.
I felt bad for the young lady who came up to me like 2 weeks ago. I don't remember where we were. Oh, it was Riot Fest in Chicago. A young lady came up. She was one of the translators, and she came up about 2:00 in the afternoon. She said, "So, do you guys have a set list ready for tonight yet?" I'm like, "Oh dear, let's talk. You're not going to get one of those till about 5 minutes before show time, if you're lucky." So she was so enthusiastic. I'm like, "You're good on you, but that's not going to come for another 6 hours." So.
That was a translator for really. What were they translating?
She was actually doing for the hearing impaired, so she was out there doing actual sign language.
Got it.
For it, so,
Got it. That makes sense.
Yeah,
totally.
I've seen her at other festivals before. She's really good. She's amazing at what she does. I have never met her actually officially, but yeah.
Let's see. What are some of the most common questions you get? Because you said out of all the bands, you get the most about Rush. Is that right?
Probably, yeah. A bit on Def Leppard as well too. So I mean, and Journey. I guess since I haven't been with Journey for a long time, not as much as I used to. But I don't know. They all want to know how the guys are, and it's just
Well, that would be a good question. Like, well, yeah. Neil's not with us anymore. What was Neil like?
Yeah. Out of the three guys, Neil was the one I knew the least, just because he kind of kept to himself most of the time. But we would talk motorcycles and cars. That's what we talked about all the time. So I've got an old 1946 Dodge pickup truck that it's rusty rat rod thing. So I was always giving him updates on how that was coming along and stuff, and he was very interested in that. So, but yeah, Neil was a wonderful guy. I mean, if you see the video of the last show, that's the last time I saw him, and he walked over and shook my hand and said thank you. That was the last time I talked to him. So, yeah.
Brilliant man,
amazing man, really nice. So, loved his daughter to death, and I mean, she was just he was all about Olivia. So she was she was definitely daddy's girl. She would be up on the drum kit playing whenever she was out and stuff like that. It was really cool.
Aw. Let's see. Somebody said, Darren says, Stick's former guitar tech, Jimmy Johnson, was a longtime friend.
They went to high school together. Yeah, they actually went to high school together. So I know Jimmy really well too before he passed as well. And Jimmy was a great guy. So I'll never forget the first time I met Jimmy. He handed me he handed me 2 business cards. His first one said, "No ego too big, no detail too small." And his second business card says, "I've fucked up bigger gigs than this." So
Those are both genius. I like that.
Absolutely. In 2003, when I was working with Journey, we were out with Styx and REO Speedwagon. So myself and Jimmy and Greg Mandelke, who was another one that was Jay Weistech with Styx, and Bill Mays, Rip from REO would all set our stuff up on the loading docks in the morning, and just we would cut up all morning while we were changing strings and just having such a great time. Those guys are all such brothers. I mean, they're great people, Unfortunately, we lost Jimmy a few years ago. He was a great soul, man. He was just always had a positive thing and always had a tool for everything. So, I mean, he had the most esoteric toolbox I've ever seen in my life, but just a wonderful, wonderful human being. So.
It seems like we got to visit 606, and it seems like, all of you guys are so tight. I mean, I didn't meet, the band, but the guitar techs, like between Jeff and Sailor and or Salor and Sean.
Solar, yeah, Sean,
and I mean, just you guys were always cracking up about something.
You got it. I mean, we didn't get into this to be bored. We got into this to have fun, So, when you work with good people, it's always a good time. So.
Yeah. So how about then Alex? What was Alex like?
Alex is great, man. He's funny. He cracks me up all the time, man. He's just a good dude, He's always he's very sharp-witted, very quick-witted, and just you never know what's going to come out of his mouth sometimes. I remember one night he came off stage during the show. We had a little ritual during Neil's drum solo. He would come off stage and I would have a shot of bourbon set up for him. And we would do a little quick shot of bourbon, before the end of the show. And I remember one night he came off and there was an EMT set up on the side of the stage with the stretcher and all that stuff. And he grabs me, he says, "Come on, get your camera real quick." And, and I'm like, what's going on, And he goes over and he lays down on the gurney and he leans over and he puts his arm on and says, "Take my pulse." And he's over there just kind of going, and I'm over there taking his pulse. And of course, John, our pyro guy, got a picture of it. So it was just, he just wanted to get a quick picture of doing that. I'm like, where does this come from, man? I love it,
How about Geddy?
Ged's awesome. Ged's he's a very dear friend too. Just wonderfully sweet guy. I love his passion. Ged is so passionate about the things he gets into, be it his bases, be it wine, be it baseball, be it traveling. He's an avid bird watcher, which I love. He's got such passion and zest for life. I love that about him. Good dude.
Do you have any idea what Alex and Geddy have done since retiring? Like, have you talked to him?
I do. I actually talk to him. Well, I kind of email back and forth with him every now and then, I know Ged's been traveling quite a bit. I think Alex has just been golfing. He loves golfing, and I think he's enjoying being home for his grandkids and stuff too. So he's just kind of doing the family life that I think he may have. I don't know. I don't want to say like he missed out on, but I think he's enjoying that.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I just funny thing. I just got a email. I guess Ged's doing a book tour.
Yes.
And doing a kind of a speaking, going to theaters and doing kind of a.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it's I literally just got that a couple hours ago. Got the email.
It's his biography, I guess, right?
Yeah, but actually doing an on stage kind of speaking thing about this too. But I think 5 cities in Europe and 14 in the US or something like that. So that's
he must have talked to Dave Grohl. Dave did the same thing too.
Okay. Yeah, well, I want to try that.
Yeah, why not? Hey.
That'd be cool.
It was well attended. I know that. I know it will be with Geddy too. So I mean, if his book signings from his big beautiful book at base was any indication, there'll be a lot of people there. So
yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Here's a true or false question. Mm-hmm. If a guitar rig fails, you only have 30 seconds to switch to a backup before the audience boos the guitarist off the stage. In other words, once the spotlight comes down.
I That's the longest 30 seconds of your life if that happens. Trust me. It seems like 12 hours. There's no finite amount, but you try to have that not happen with backups and things. So, it's technology. Sometimes it doesn't work in your favor. So, I mean, you just have to try to be as quick as possible and do what you can. That's why you prepare for it ahead of time.
So let's see. Well, we're at the top of the hour. We've been trying to be good and keep everything to about an hour.
Sure.
We know other live streamers that can go up to 4 hours, but we figure an hour is probably good for all of us. But they're also drinking while they're doing the live stream. So
lose track of time.
You do after a while. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
when we all sit down and talk, I always go, Jesus, 3 hours later,
Yeah. So I mean, we could always have you back because I mean, I think it would be fun to have a Foo reunion with Jeff and Sean and you and Dave and a few others because
that'd be great. I'm sure they would love to do it. So
yeah, cool. I mean, Sean is just hysterically funny. He cracks me up.
Sean's awesome. Yeah, get Salar and Sean and Jeff and everybody in there. That'd be cool.
It'd be cool to talk about the woodworking they did in there. That was really beautiful.
Oh yeah, that'd be amazing. They did a great job in there. So
yeah. So any other last words, last story? Somebody wants to know if you have also a business card.
Oh, I don't. Yeah,
sorry. You don't have anything funny on there? No.
I'm sorry?
You don't have a funny business card?
No. Jimmy kind of broke the mold on that one, so it's like I really couldn't come up with anything quite that good after that. So
pretty hard to top that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's like, okay, show's done. That's it.
All right, well, if there's one last question,
sure.
Then let's see. Anybody else a question? Last time it was really funny. There was something that everybody wanted answered, and I got ganged up on. One last question. Anything, guys? I'm waiting for them to type it all in.
Bueller.
My high school band was in that movie.
Are you serious? Really?
I was almost in it, but I had quit band before that. Yeah.
Oh man.
They were the marching band for Twist and Shout. Yeah.
Oh no way. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. All the way in Lockport, Illinois, in the middle of nowhere.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay. Here's one. How about the most amazing guitar you've ever dealt with?
Oh, geez, that's a tough one. Man, there's been a lot of great ones over the years. Getty let Alex use his 57 Gold Top for the last couple of tours, which was an unbelievable guitar. All mahogany body. There was no maple cap in it. So I've been very fortunate to have played quite a few 59 Les Pauls over the years. Everything from Joe Bonamassa's Carmelita to James Honeyman Scott's to Jeff Hanna from the Nitty Gritty Dirt Bands. Those are all amazing instruments in their own individual ways. Gosh, you know what? I mean, even just, memorable guitars just to me, just coming along too. Like I remember I picked up a Johnny Cash Martin model one time that just absolutely baked my noodle, just absolutely blew my mind. You just get those guitars every now and then that just speak to you and just, you just go, wow, holy cow, this is great, obviously like Alex's 355 was a great one. Phil's, Phil from Def Leppard's from his Bella guitar is a great one. Vivian's got a bunch of great Les Pauls, Dave's DG 335. I mean, those are all really cool instruments in their own respects, so there's an awful lot of them.
Well, this has been the most amazing live stream, and I so appreciate you bringing us the pictures and all these great stories. And somebody says, awesome stories. We need part 2.
So I'm in. Yeah, no problem.
We have Bucky and a few other people. We know Rick Gould. We could have him on.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We have who knows what would happen.
Get a quorum going here. Yeah, why not?
Maybe Getty and Alex and say, if you guys are bored, there's a live stream.
Right. Come on, guys.
And they're going to go, Scotty, anything. What did you do?
Yeah.
Did we use this stuff? Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, they know.
Yeah. But man, we have the best audience too. I really appreciate all the chat. You guys are amazing. And so thank you everybody for
great questions.
Yeah, really great questions. And this was fun. And I know that there's a few more that I didn't answer, but next time, when we have 3 or 4 of the guitar techs at the same time, it should be nice and chaotic, but it would be fun.
There you go. Yeah. Trust me, it'll be a comedy show.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, Ron will be so happy. He can just sit back. He doesn't have to talk. I'll be able to moderate because you guys will just be taking it over. But at least we don't have a
That's
good
right.
time.
We'll call it Tech Takeover. How about that?
Yes.
There you
There
you go.
Hey, maybe we can film it in 606 or something.
You never know. You never know.
We're in that bathroom.
Anything's possible.
Yeah, there you go.
We
Yeah,
gotta talk about that bathroom. I think if we can get.
I think we'll leave that one right there.
Anyway, well, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. I'm getting lots of thanks. For,
please thank all of you. Really appreciate it. It was fun. So good time. I'd definitely love to do it again sometime. So.
All right. Any so people can see you in Nashville, and if you ever do get where you're playing in your band, you'll have to tell us and we'll post it. So you'll end up with like 500 fans there.
No worries. Actually, if you go to davefleppard.com, DAVEFLEPPARD, I won't be on most of it, but
Okay.
But that's the band I play with on occasion. Yeah. So yeah.
Nice.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And I guess hopefully we'll have you back on.
Let me know. I'm willing to do it anytime. This is fun. Miss you guys.